What's up, YouTube? Today I want to talk about making squelches. So I know not long ago I actually just put out a video on creating squelches. However, one of my inner circle Patreons kind of came up with a really cool idea that inspired a Serum patch, which is so good for squelches, and I kind of have to show you guys. So yeah, thanks Marius for the idea, and I want to show you guys this really cool squelchy, clicky, psychedelic sound in Serum 2. Let's dive in and have a look. So the original concept was basically like, you know, when creating squelches, it was part of that whole conversation about the squelches. That's why I did that original video, and then the idea kind of developed further, and now we're here. So anyway, we were kind of trying to create a really clicky sound using a saw wave that was tuned really low. And Marius's idea was like, why not just use a sample of a click and just repeat it, right? And then filter it up and down. So he created this Bitwig grid patch doing that using just the initial transient of a kick drum. And then I was like, you know what? We can actually just do that in Serum with the Granular oscillator, or in Phase Plant even as well. So you're not just limited to doing this in Serum. You can kind of do it with most of the more versatile granular synthesizers will probably be able to do this technique. With that out the way, in Serum, I've got a init patch over here. The first thing we want to do is we want to set this over to Granular. And if you don't have a kick sample, which I imagine you probably do, but if you don't, you can just use this wavetable over here under digital ICANN has kick. If you didn't know, ICANN has kick wavetable is just a kick sample. I think it's actually reversed, so you might have to do a little bit of reverse engineering there. But yeah, I'm just going to drag and drop one of my kick samples in here, and we can get started. So first thing we want to do is we want to set the playback mode to manual, and then we want to set this density to 1. So there's going to be one grain triggered, and we can kind of set the position to choose what grain that is. Of course, we just want the initial click, the initial transient, so we're going to leave the position at 0. The length, we're going to have to actually turn down quite a bit. And we're already getting a nice clicky sound. But the real magic here is setting this envelope into, I think it was Gaussian, and then set the skew to minus 100%. Then you get this really clicky stuff. You can actually change this amount to kind of change the envelope, but you want it very sharp, like that, right? Okay, we're already getting somewhere. So let's go back to the initial window, and the magic here is just modulating this length over here. And what you can also do is you can right click here on the length and click to key track, and then you can actually play it on the keys. So if we set it up quite a bit, you can actually like play a melody. But we don't want to do that. So what I want to do is I want to actually set the pitch bend of a MIDI controller. You don't have to use the pitch bend. If you don't have a MIDI controller, you can set up random modulators and that kind of thing. But I think with these kinds of sounds, it's really cool to kind of play them and get really, you know, physical with it. So I actually want to set the pitch bend here to 0, so that when we pitch bend it, it's not actually going to change the actual pitch. And then what I want to do is jump into Matrix over here, and we want to set the pitch bend to modulate this oscillator 1's grain length. I guess the easy way to do it, we can actually just right click on this thing here and say mod source pitch bend. And then we can actually go in here and fine tune it. We want to set this to bipolar so that it's like in the center, and then we can go up and down. I generally also set it the other way around because it just feels a bit more intuitive, where up goes faster and down goes slower, if you know what I mean. Okay, cool. So now we can actually just fine tune the starting position here. Okay, so the reason that key track is cool is like now if we want to go lower, instead of having to go and fiddle with the parameters, we can just go an octave lower. Or if we want to go even lower, we can just, go an octave lower. Okay, cool. So now what we want to do is we want to set up a filter. Let's go with a band 24. We can give it some resonance. And then we want to set the cutoff to be modulated by the mod wheel. So we can actually just drag it from here and turn up this level and this level here. Yes. Let's give it just a little bit of drive. Okay, so we could either add effects over here in Serum, but just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to just add a delay here in Bitwig, set it to ping pong, add some feedback, because if we do want to bounce the sound, you can quickly just go like this, bounce it, reapply the delay, that whole technique. So anyway, then what I like to do is just, press the hold button on my MIDI controller, and then hold one note, and then just play that clicky sound, right? With these kinds of sounds, it can also be really nice to add some kind of random modulation or something to the pan. So here what we can do is we can actually set up a chaos and set it onto the pan like this. Let's actually set it to hertz. I'm going to actually try sample and hold smooth. Cool. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm actually going to be uploading this preset to my Patreon for all my $5 supporters. So if you want to know what that's all about, check out the link in the description. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I will see you guys next time. Cheers.